government of Dominica continues to provide tremendous support to the Grotto Home for the Homeless. Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation speaks corporate responsibility and waste disposal, and the Social Center graduates 30 students from its programs. Thank you for joining us for another edition of National Focus. I'm Tasia Floissac.
And I'm Kerdisha St. Louis. Stay with us for details of the headline stories and others after this.
Did you know the Caribbean Court of Justice is two courts in one? The CCJ has two functions: an original jurisdiction, which deals with your right to move between CARICOM countries freely, and your right to move your money and your business. This is the basis of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME, and the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, and an appellate jurisdiction to hear appeals from courts of those countries which decide to use it as their final court of appeal and no longer go to the Privy Council. All CARICOM member states who have signed the agreement establishing the CCJ are members of the CCJ.
Thanks for staying with us. The nation's leader and finance minister, the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, has reiterated that government will continue to lend support to the Grotto Home for the Homeless and other less fortunate across the island. Dominica's leader assured this commitment when he addressed the annual general meeting of the Community Hostels Inc. Grotto Home for the Homeless on Monday at the Fortune Hotel.
I give a commitment to the less fortunate. As long as I'm the leader of this country, they will be always cared for by this government because we have a responsibility. And notwithstanding how difficult the economy may be, notwithstanding the fact that our revenue has dropped, like every other country in the world, we are committed to keeping the safety nets intact. And this is why we have not tampered with any of the social safety nets we've instituted in this country. They all remain intact, properly financed. And I have said publicly that if it means that I have to stop the construction of a road or a piece of infrastructure to finance the social safety net programs, that shall be done.
It was on that premise he announced the second disbursement of $40,000 towards the construction of the new home in Bellevue Royal Stock Farm. The Honorable Prime Minister earlier this month committed $120,000 towards the relocation.
We have been working with the Grotto Home towards the realization of its new home. And I have committed as Prime Minister and Minister of Finance to $120,000 towards the purchase of building materials. And we also have mandated the state prison to use labor from there to assist with cutting on the cost of construction for the grotto. I've been told by my staff this morning that we have received $40,000 of building materials so far. I'm saying to you that before the end of the working day, you shall receive an additional $40,000 to continue the project. And by next Wednesday, God willing, you will receive the other $40,000 to complete the $120,000 committed by the Office of the Prime Minister.
In addition, the government has also leased 1 acre of land to the Grotto Home at $1 a year for the construction of the home. Dominica's leader also pledged his support to the Grotto Home, meeting its yearly operation cost through contribution of $30,000 for the next 5 years, starting from 2014. GIS News will bring you more from this AGM in a subsequent newscast.
The Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation is calling on business owners to accept their responsibility for waste disposal. Florian Mitchell is the General Manager of the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation.
The letter act also speaks to commercial institutional waste generators. For example, you have a business. You might be selling shoe. you produce waste. Somebody may come to your establishment and buy a shoe and they did not hold the box. That's waste. The packaging that you receive your consignment in, all that is waste. So from day to day, you're going to generate or produce waste. Then you're supposed to get rid of that waste. That the general consensus in Dominica is that we put out everything for solid waste, and solid waste is supposed to collect everything that we put out. Yes, it is true. Yes, it is incorrect. If you put out for us and we have a contract with you, we could collect. But the Solid Waste Management Act also speaks to those waste generators, businesses, commercial, institutional, that their responsibility for waste disposal is their responsibility. It is not a direct responsibility of solid waste.
Mitchell explained that disposal of commercial waste is not the automatic responsibility of the corporation. He elucidated that a contractual agreement with the Solid Waste Corporation would then mandate the automatic waste disposal. In the absence of that arrangement, he said, business owners who put out their waste on the street corners are in violation of the law.
If you do not have a contract with Solid Waste or City Council and you put out your garbage, according to the Act, the section that we read, it is actually becoming a health risk to the public, because you put your garbage on the road, it litters. According to the Litter Act, you could be charged for littering. You could be fined because you're putting garbage out where you're not supposed to. You're actually defacing the public property. So that person can be charged. Even the law also speaks to that if you give someone to dispose of your garbage for you and they do not dispose of it in keeping with the law, that the person who initiated it will be held accountable. Both individuals will be held accountable under the Act for that.
Compliance with Dominica's laws also require for proper storage of waste, ensuring that no risk is posed to the environment or human life.
Section 46(1) says every occupier of premises in which waste is anytime stored shall store that waste in containers that prevent escape of waste, liquid, or objectionable with levels of odor and infectious by pets or vermin. So it is saying that section 46(1), you have to store that waste. For example, we have restaurants. The waste in a restaurant as opposed to a boutique or a shoes department store would be different. In a restaurant, you would probably have food remains, so you'd have odor. And then you would have probably a greater level of vermin trying to eat from that. So you'd have to ensure that that waste is properly handled at your establishment. It had to be in a container, in a receptacle, that those vermin and stuff cannot get in there. That is your responsibility.
On the heels of its third commemoration of Health and Safety Month in May, PDV Carbe Dominica Limited embarked on yet another venture to focus on the security and well-being of its employees. PDV Carbe commenced a 2-week workshop on Monday centered on risk assessment and evaluation control for operation personnel and management within the oil industry. According to Health, Safety, Security and Environment Officer at PDV Dominica, Kendall Austri, the format of the workshop is geared at sensitizing management and supervisory staff in areas of industrial safety, occupational hygiene, and risk control.
We're going to emit guidelines and train staff to implement procedures in hot and cold works and the complementary permits required when undertaking those works. And all those are geared towards maintaining safety, the highest levels of safety when carrying out our daily operations. And at the end of the exercise, at the end of the 2 weeks, we're hoping to carry out a drill, a general fire control drill in the area of our diesel tanks. And that, of course, we're going to evaluate our response in the event of a spill or emergency in that general area. The material involved, we're going to have videos on risk management, safety, and emergency control and prevention.
Acting General Manager of GIS Dominica, Paul Moses, explained that with the nature of the company, which deals with oil storage and distribution, it is important to have workshops such as these.
We have invested quite a few millions in our plant, in terms of tank, in terms of building, in terms of various equipment. And if we were to have a major incident at the plant, it would involve an extremely high cost to us, considering the level of investment at the plant. But the major concern to us, quite apart from the capital, environmental, and the reputational implications of us, the greater concern is the human cost. What it would mean to us if an employee were to lose a limb, if an employee were to be killed at our plant, because you cannot, equipment you can replace. The environment you can clean up. Reputation over time, you would do good and people may hopefully forget the bad. But you cannot replace a limb. You cannot, at least not with an exact limb. You cannot replace life.
Health and Safety Officer Austri said the workshop is symbolic of the Dominica-Venezuela relationship under the PDV agreement.
The presence of Mr. Paredes is a manifestation of the support we have from Venezuela under the Petro-Carib agreement. The agreement doesn't just speak to the supply of fuel, supply of sales of fuel and other products to the various countries under the Petro-Carib agreement. It also speaks of the transfer of technology and knowledge. And that is exactly what Mr. Paredes is going to do. For the next 2 weeks, he's going to transfer some very important knowledge and technology to us in the Caribbean. Mr. Paredes has a lot of experience in that regard. He has over 20 years of experience working in the petroleum industry. He's an engineer by training. He has a master's degree in environmental engineering and safety engineering, and over 100 certificates, both Venezuelan and international.
The workshop is being facilitated by Jose Paredes.
The Social Center is doing its part to turn out productive and educated young people. On Friday, 30 young men and women graduated from 3 programs offered by the center. 17 from the Adolescent Skills Training Program.
The ASTP program was negotiated in 1986 with the objective of training on the privileged youth, and it has continued to this day to afford its participants the opportunity to develop numeracy and literacy skills through the use of comprehensive learning packages, providing each participant with special job, training, placement, internship, and mentorship programs.
8 from the From Offering to Achieving program.
Since its introduction, the FOTA program has made an outstanding impact on Dominica's juvenile offenders with the collaborative efforts of UNICEF, the Magistrate Court, and the Social Welfare Division. The program has given the offenders a second chance, allowing them the opportunity to acquire a cumulative of social, academic, and technical skills. Furthermore, participants of the FOTA program are afforded job training, placement, and internship services.
And 5 sat CSEC exams. Norma Cyril is the Social Center coordinator.
We had 36 children from the ASCP program, 19 skills training, and 17 from the CSEC component. And the FOTA children, we had 23 participants, 8 who come in from the mornings, and 15 secondary school students. Now, activities included career guidance, job attachment, counseling, skills training, community service, mentoring, core subjects, adolescent development program, field trips and exhibitions. Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC. The Social Center introduced the CSEC program in September 2012. 2013-2014 is the final year of this 2-year program. In May and June of this year, 11 participants sat the CSEC exams in the following subject areas: mathematics, English language, Spanish, social studies, electronic document preparation, and management.
11 categories of awards were handed out on Friday, including English, Math, ICT, and Sports. The most outstanding ASTP student was Geraldine Olas. Marilu Myers was the most outstanding CSEC student, and Akeem Henry, most outstanding FOTA student. Here's an excerpt from the most outstanding student of the year.
Let us all remember that in whatever path we take, that the word success is associated with what we did here at the social center. We must concentrate on enhancing our future and setting the right examples for those we love and who consider us as a role model. We must be tomorrow's positive images and let our actions make a statement and send a clear message. Be proud of who you are at all times, in spite of background, culture, or gender. In order to have high self-esteem, confidence, and motivations, we must be willing to work diligently and have a clear understanding of how far we can go. Together, we can achieve greatness. If you feel at any point life becomes too hard, do not panic. Remember, life gets better once we get the right tools to work with, like determination, a strong education, positive attitude, and positive friends.
To make program participants ready for the world of work, a partnership with the private sector was established for hands-on training. This is in addition to the center's core curriculum, which is executed in phases.
Phase 1, 80 to 100 hours, where you have sports to employability skills and incorporate sports in classroom activities. The core competencies are teamwork, communication, discipline, respect, result, and continuous self-improvement. Phase 2 is 150-hour vocational technical skills training, including 30 hours of entrepreneurship training. Phase 3, practical experience through placement in internship, apprentices, or other activities. And Phase 4, an alumni network and successful job placement. In addition, youth are mentored during the program by volunteer professionals. Each youth must also complete 20 to 40 hours of service learning project or community service.
With a staff complement of 5 full-time members, 6 part-time, and 4 volunteers, the social center is able to boast an 80% success rate.
And in more news, Dominican teachers are urged to ensure that activities commemorating OECS Day are included in their school's calendar of activities. This call came from President of the Dominica Association of Teachers, DAT, Celia Nicholas, during the start of the DAT-CTF Ministry of Education Summer Workshop last week. Nicholas applauded Dominica for its efforts in celebrating OECS Day.
OECS is 33 years old, and yet we find there is an ignorance about OECS. The DAT, Dominica, is the only country in the OECS which celebrates OECS Day every day.
Every year for the past 5 years, the DAT, in collaboration with early educators and preschools, spearhead activities to commemorate OECS Day. This year's celebration took the form of a street parade from the Dominica Export-Import Agency Dexia compound to the government headquarters, followed by an exhibition highlighting crops, foods from OECS islands. Nicholas encouraged all educators who are not involved to make an effort to celebrate OECS Day in their various schools.
I would like all the early educators to come on board. Some are not on board. And I know that around that time for the secondary schools and the primary schools, people are laden with exams, end of term activity, but OECS Day is very important to us.
Nicholas noted that OECS Day needs to be celebrated, especially by the DAT, as the Canadian Teachers Association, who finances institutions under the OECS, has contributed significantly to the DAT.
The Canadian Teachers Federation has been supporting with finance and technical expertise units within those frameworks, that is the CARICOM, OECS, and CUT, we have benefited from the quality of education for our children and our teachers.
OECS Day is celebrated annually on June 18th in recognition of the signing of the Treaty of Basseterre, establishing the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, on June 18, 1981 in Basseterre, St. Kitts. And that's all for the English segment of the news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Creole highlights.
Allô tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Non, moi, c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, Premier ministre Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, qui a fait parole qui pays là, ça a fait des pays au salaire en temps salam, si peuple là, ça paye pour lui. Premier ministre Skerritt fait parole ça là pendant la conférence média la semaine passée. Si l'Honorable Skerritt, ça fait globalisation qui a affecté la là à présent, pays là, pas pour dire, il pas à dingue. Premier ministre là, des citoyens pays là, si ou non, ils sont d'accord pour payer salaire monté, puis c'est l'argent gouvernement ramassé, ils ont dépensé pour le pays là, d'une manière soutenable. Premier ministre a dit, gouvernement Dominique ni en responsabilité, bagay qui en enterré per pays là. En autre nouvelle, workshop association Teacher Dominique Katchen pour Teacher, qui a exploré divers sujets. Parole ça là sorti hors président DAT Cillian Nicolas.
Vini zafa qui ka vini à l'école là ici tout ça ka vini l'école actuellement les fois you take any place you take a voyer so actuellement tout zafa so ces teachers là ni pour connaître si yo ni timon qui pas ka faire d'autres enfants ça yo ni pour faire pour aider yo etc. Nous ni visual arts, ça c'est a new area. I mean you take out this arts and craft. You can faire arts and craft c'est pour ça qui passe à learn. Visual arts c'est go bit actuellement. Gay ça qui a fait avec Michael. Vous savez si papa Michael partait à porter à Soudoy pour chanter, pour faire ça ni pour vle. Michael partait ici aujourd'hui là. Il a joué flûte là tout. So visual arts are important. So nous can introduce ça, nous can faire ça pour Zafano, so ça fait primaire à l'école.
Alors nouvel département SIDA ka one traitement ba moun qui ni maladie ça là. Yo aussi ka conduit test ba population là. Si l'on chef département la Jolie Frampton, plus moun ka tapé avis tester à de manière connaître situation a yo.
Depuis 2004 nous ka ba moun traitement pour HIV et nous avons moun ka fait bien en les traitement yo nous ka encourager moun sous savent ou ni sida pour venir chercher traitement là.
Madame Frampton, où c'est capable comme quoi chain record plus males qui comme sida comme ça.
Ah ben nous ka test plusieurs femmes aussi ou ça mais nous ka voir sida plus un homme Dominique qui est en femme. So nous encourager tout le monde pour venir test.
Finalement, l'occasion qu'a Grotto chain go meeting à aujourd'hui. Institution celle-là qui a occupé monde qui pas payé, turn report pour ces trois l'année là qui passée. Premier ministre Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt a adressé go meeting là et puis permettre gouvernement continuer à assister institution là. Premier ministre a dit gouvernement ni en responsabilité assister institution comme ça. Ministre Service Social, Honorable Gloria Shillingford, aussi adressé meeting là. Si l'on président institution là, Inns of Irish, il y a bien plaisir si pour là, il y a tapé spécialement hors à gouvernement.
45, moun 45, moun pour manger tous les jours. Et nous n'y pouvons remercier bon Dieu. Because pour passer moun la manger, on est obligé ni l'argent. Et aujourd'hui, moi content. Gouvernement Dominique a toujours aidé nous. Autant le Premier ministre là bon matin. Là, nous ni Peter Wade, il a aidé nous. Le gouvernement ba nous 2 acres land à Belvirol. Nous pas tenir pour payer pour eux. Et vous still ba nous $646,000. Yo ba nous $46,000. Plus passer ça nous tenir pour taper. Et à présent nous ka fait construction là. 70% fini. Prime Minister still vini à quoi il ba nous $120,000. Nous tapé 40 déjà. Demain il ba nous lot 40. Et semaine ka vini à quoi lot 40. So, gouvernement là ka wede nous. Vous voyez, bon matin là, Prime Minister là, il est en low travail. Mais il still venu ici bon matin. Nous avons un shortfall of $45,000. Tous les années, il y ça. So nous avons tapé. Il y a des gens qui as Prime Minister là, il y a une famille à Grotto. Ils ne peuvent pas même passer pour ne manger. So aujourd'hui, nous comprenons, nous comptons. Nous avons une AGM, nous avons une élection, nous avons tout bitin. Le Prime Minister là venu. Autant Minister Community Development, Gloria Shengford. Il même venu là, il dit nous, il fait ça, il paie. So nous contents.
Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelle en créole pour à présent. Non, moi c'est McPherson St. Louis. Au revoir.
Coming up next, how to stay hydrated during the summer.
Did you know the Caribbean Court of Justice is 2 courts in 1? The CCJ has 2 functions, an original jurisdiction, which deals with your right to move between CARICOM countries freely and your right to move your money and your business. This is the basis of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME, and the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, and an appellate jurisdiction to hear appeals from courts of those countries which decide to use it as their final court of appeal and no longer go to the Privy Council. All CARICOM member states who have signed the agreement establishing the CCJ are members of the CCJ.
You asked for it. See more evidence of development right here on the Government Information.
As summer temperatures hit, here are some tips on how to keep hydrated. Drink enough water to prevent thirst and monitor fluid loss by checking the color of your urine. Also drink water before, during, and after exercise.
Consider all fluids including tea, coffee, juices, milk, and soups in your diet. Eat at least 5 cups of fruit and vegetables per day for optimum health, as they contain various levels of water and the all-important nutrient potassium. If you don't like water, alternatives such as coconut water are full of essential electrolytes to help replenish your body after a day out in the sun. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website at news.gov.dm.
Friend us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/GIS News Dominica. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire news production team, I'm Tasia Floissac.
And I'm Kerdisha. Thanks for watching.